I'm Steve Orme, the Midlands editor of the British Theatre Guide. A consortium's got together with the aim of developing theatre for younger audiences. The first production will be an adaptation of the young adult novel Noughts and Crosses by the former children's laureate Malorie Blackman. It's the first co-production between Pilot Theatre, Derby Theatre, Coventry's Belgrade Theatre, Mercury Theatre Colchester and York Theatre Royal. It's being directed by Pilot's artistic director Esther Richardson, who explains how the consortium got together.
Touring mid-scale theatre, it's a challenging thing to do, and so there's lots of kind of ways in which companies nationally are thinking at the moment about how to make that more impactful in a way, and how to achieve touring big ambitious projects in a way that feels more practical but also sort of more meaningful and more embedded in the work of, say, a regional repertory company. But also what's very, very important about Pilot and about this project and about everything that we do is that we're trying to reach those younger audiences and we're trying to reach schools. And we're trying to do that at the moment in a climate where there's been lots of cuts to cultural education, where there's obviously anyway lots more things to draw people away from theatre in terms of the offer of Netflix or, you know, the gaming possibilities or all of those sorts of things. It's just a really challenging time to sort of try and capture those young audiences and to try to kind of capture those schools. So it seemed to us that if we could kind of work collectively, if we could unite to have a think about how to make powerful work to sort of reach those younger audiences, especially together, and if we could work together on some of the challenges of that, it could be a really good way forward.
So is there not enough theatre for young people these days?
Oh my goodness, the theatre offer for young people is pretty atrocious, really. It's still a grossly underfunded part of the sector. It's really hard for that part of the sector to get status for all sorts of issues. Work for young people is always, you know, overlooked in roundups of the year for the best theatre that's happened in the country. It's like a systemic issue anyway. But also, we're not necessarily a culture, especially with our kind of age group that we're trying to target, which is teenagers. We're not really a kind of country or a society that really loves teenagers very much. We like them to be kind of locked away in their bedrooms, and we don't really make culture for teenagers. When you think about it, CBeebies and CBBC, that actually stops at age sort of 12, 13. So have had actually, you know, genuine conversations with the guys at CBBC about the reality that the BBC doesn't really make any drama for an age group which is from 12 to 18. Now, of course, they would also say, well, we've got BBC Three, we've got more sort of experimental projects, we've got, you know, other things that those audiences are trying to sort of be drawn to. But the fact is, there's nobody being commissioned and there's no commissioner to make drama television for that age group, and that really sort of says it all about our attitude in this country to making culture for teenagers.
You've got together with these other theatres then, and it's a 3-year project, so you must be really excited about that.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's just brilliant to be working with such fantastic companies who get what we're about and get what we're trying to do, and also feel the same way about these things. And if you work over 3 years, then you've really got time to kind of learn the lessons from the previous project and think carefully about what you programme next, and you can go on a journey together. And I think that's what's great about us all having decided to work collectively over a long period of time and to make that kind of commitment in our funding agreements that's going to take us through to 2022. So, yeah, which feels like a lifetime away at the moment, but those of us who are a little older know it'll be here in a flash. So it's just great that we can make that journey. And I think where we'll be in 2022, we hope we're going to have built momentum up, and, you know, we hope we're going to have captured those audiences and taken them on an amazing journey.
So you're starting with Noughts and Crosses by Malorie Blackman.
That's right.
Why did you choose that one?
Because it's just the most amazing book, and it's kind of mind-blowing that it just hasn't been put on stage since that original Royal Shakespeare Company production, not least because it was a sellout production that loads of people wanted to go and see who couldn't even get in to see it, including myself, actually. I remember going down to Nottingham Playhouse thinking, oh, well, I'll be able to get a ticket for this, and actually all the tickets are gone, and I couldn't see it. And even though I was working there at the time, I couldn't even pull any strings. I just couldn't get in to see it because of the demand to see the production. So for me, I read the book for the first time in 2006. It left a really profound impression on me. And I'd always had it around the edge of my thinking, and I'd always observed the strangeness that nobody had done it again. So when I was privileged enough to be offered the job at Pilot, it was the very first project. I said, we've got to do Noughts and Crosses. It makes complete sense because of the kind of company that we are, and because diversity is such a really important part of our agenda, and we want to be working in a room with actors from all different backgrounds and finding the unity really in the world, which I think is really important at the moment. Then this is a really good project for us to do, because there's all sorts of young people for whom this project is going to speak so powerfully. It's going to make them rethink all sorts of things, and it is also just an amazing love story as well. And it's about forbidden love. It's about all those things that young people can immediately relate to, because they all feel slightly, in a way, sort of excluded, and like they're navigating rules all the time because they're finding their voice and they're trying to kind of navigate their way. And so a story like this, I think, is always really powerful. Yeah.
Sabrina Mahfouz has adapted the story. What does she bring to it?
Well, Sabrina's an absolutely amazing character. I mean, she's like a polymath, really. She sort of has her fingers in all sorts of different pies, and she's an amazing performance poet, and she's an activist as well. And she has a really interesting history, writing all sorts of books, and really kind of galvanising different voices, and in particular speaking up for the marginalised in our society in a way. So she's got a whole series of projects that she's done, and her profile is growing and growing all the time. But principally, I invited her onto the project and wanted to work with her because I felt that she, as both quite a political animal and as a poet, would just come at Noughts and Crosses in a slightly sort of fresh way that felt right for 2019. And there's a third thing about her as well, which is she too has a really sort of strong history in writing plays for young people, actually. So she feels very passionate too about some of the same things that I feel passionate about. So the alignment of those three things made her the perfect person, really, for the project.
It's been described as a pivotal book about racism. So does that come out in the stage adaptation?
Absolutely. I think, we find ourselves daily coming back to this discussion, and I think it's inescapably about race and about all the kind of social justice issues that spring from that. And I think that, as we know at the moment, we're in a very sort of uncertain time with what's happening politically in the landscape. I don't want to mention the B word, but I think you know what I mean by the kinds of things that are just happening around the country. My daughter, actually, who's 4, she's just started school, and within the first fortnight of starting school, she came home and she'd learnt the phrase, "Go back to your own country." And she's going to, a nice state school in York. York is supposed to be this fabulous place to live, and yet she's learnt this phrase. So I think we have to be honest about where we are at the minute, and we need to have these conversations because we need to just be challenging discrimination and prejudice, because it is all around us at the moment right now.
It's also going to be a BBC adaptation of Noughts and Crosses this year. Malorie Blackman has always been popular, but why do you think suddenly there's even more interest in her work?
I just think we're in a quite heightened political moment, and I think that it's a piece that really sort of cuts through a lot of the hot air and around certain topics. It just sort of gets straight to the point, really, with its metaphor of this reversal that makes you just really examine your privilege, and it just doesn't mess about. You cannot watch this on stage or I imagine on TV without sort of being jolted and awoken to think about that. And I think it's a smart move by the BBC to make the adaptation as well on television, and we're all watching with great interest to see where they've taken that in that kind of screen format. But it's like a no-brainer to me. It's like It just cuts through so many things to sort of really get to the truth and the heart of some of these discussions, really.
Your enthusiasm for it comes through, but has it been difficult actually to put it on stage?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first of all, there's always the practical thing about making an adaptation. You always feel an immense responsibility with any adaptation to the underlying text. And in a way, you are moving it into a different form. So I think what I'm learning, and this is actually only the second ever adaptation that I've made, but what I learned on the first adaptation that I was part of, which was Brighton Rock, is that in a way you have a complete responsibility to the truth of the underlying material, but you have to find a way to make it live in a new form, which in this case is theatre. So that's a very delicate process, and it's fraught with complexity, and it's full of responsibility. And I think this project, like any project of adaptation, has that. But I think added to it with this project, there is so much love for this book, and it is just so important to people, and especially to a certain generation who grew up with it, and for whom it may be the first book that they ever read where there was a young black female character who was powerful and intelligent and who sort of drives the story, that for them it's a kind of landmark, this book, and it means the world to them. So we have the added layer with our project this time to really get that right for that audience in particular, and for them to feel that we are honouring, in a way, the true spirit of the book and the true spirit of Malorie's vision. And that's a huge task, but it's a thrilling, exciting task.
No pressure on you then?
No pressure on me at all. No, I mean, the pressure is immense, but, we're just trying to work here with great integrity. We have a fantastic team. We're working really collaboratively. We never shy away from difficult questions, and we're with one another, and we're working really, really hard, and we're giving it our best, and we're going to give it everything we've got. So, live by the sword, die by the sword. I'm not saying that, you always win every time, but certainly we're trying our very best to make this powerful, beautiful show.
On a personal note, you're no stranger to the East Midlands, are you?
I'm no stranger to the East Midlands. The East Midlands feels, in a way, very much like my home, because it's the place that I've lived for the longest in my life. So I lived here for 15 years and made some fantastic work here, and I absolutely love the East Midlands. I only ever intended to come here for a year, and then before I knew it, I was married and, had a house and loads of friends, and it's a great place. It's a great place. I love it very much.
And what's next after Noughts and Crosses?
Great question. Oh, my goodness me. Well, running pilots, we've got lots of things in the pipeline. I'm not sure I'm allowed to make any announcements, though, in this podcast. I have to check in with my marketing team. I'm very naughty, and I quite often let things slip, and then later I get into big trouble. But let's put it like this, that there's a series of works that we're going to be doing as part of the new consortium, and they're all super exciting, and they follow in a similar sort of vein and spirit to Noughts and Crosses. So they're works that will get you thinking and get you, really kind of provoke you, but they'll be big-hearted works as well. I always sort of say that I want the work that we make to make people think harder and feel more. So they're work that's going to do that.
Billy, you're playing Callum. You graduated from Bristol Old Vic Theatre School quite recently, so was it a surprise to get this role so early in your career?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. I think I sort of had in my mind the same way that we all did when we graduated, that you might be just a couple of lines here and there, in good theatres or whatever. So it was a gift, and I was completely. I'm very, very fortunate to get this after a year and a half out of drama school. So yeah, it's really cool.
So how did you get it? What was the audition process?
Yeah, it was really nice actually, the way Esther and Pilot did it. It was an open casting. So you sent a self-tape in. And self-tapes for theatre are a bit of a weird one. I've never done one before. Normally it's for TV, film, you do a self-tape. So to approach that was a bit strange. But yeah, you got Callum and Seffi had different monologues, so you learnt the monologue and sent it off, and then I got a recall from that. I think they saw quite a lot of people through the tapes, so it was quite a long time. So I did the tape, and then I think 2-3 weeks later I got my recall. So I thought I hadn't got the part, so I just kind of gave up on that. But then my agent phoned and said I had a recall.
And what happened in the recall?
It was, so first recall was just reading with Seffi and different types of Seffis. Then the second recall, the finals, was reading with all the people I guess they were thinking of for the Callums and for the Seffis. So my final reading was with Heather. And yeah, so it was about 3 hours long, I think, the whole thing, because they obviously wanted to get the right people, the right chemistry. And it was good. It was exhausting, but good.
So what did you feel about the chemistry between you and Heather at that time?
Yeah, I first thought she was very good, and you can instantly sort of feel it in the room if you're bouncing off of each other. And I could tell that from the director, Esther, from the way she was looking at it, and she got us to do it loads of different ways. I guess she was trying to figure out whether we could do different types of emotions, and just if we were quite diverse, and in our acting. So we were in there for quite a long time. And it was the last ones, and then I kind of felt like, okay, cool. I definitely felt that she was in for the run-in to getting Seffi 100%. So it was just a case of, am I that Callum, to her, Seffi, so, and it worked out.
Heather, did you feel the same when you were auditioning alongside Billy?
Yeah, there was like a super positive vibe, and Esther was even talking about details about the story with us, which seemed quite odd in an audition. It felt like we might have got it, I think. So there was like a weird air of confidence at the end, which was great.
But you were never complacent about getting the part?
Not at all. I've had that good feeling before in auditions and not got it. So I just thought, let me just bury that deep. But it was a nice experience to have in an audition room, for sure.
And what was your entrance into theatre? I think it was a little bit different from Billy's.
Yeah, I never went to drama school, actually. I did a psychology degree and a master's in photography and urban cultures, but I always wanted to act, so I did part-time drama schools since I was maybe 16 till now. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing in terms of training.
Okay, Billy, so tell us about the part of Callum. Yeah, so Callum is a young boy, very ambitious. He's 16 years old, and he gets a place at a scholarship to go to Heathcroft School, which is so he is in the play he is classed as a naught, and Heathcroft School is mainly a cross school. So he's very gifted, very intelligent. I think we've figured out that 4 people have won the scholarship to go to Heathcroft. So 4 young white naughts have got this place, and it's just a thing that at the very, very beginning, I think he feels that he is on. He's had a life of racism and segregation, but I think at the very beginning he's so positive that he is maybe potentially the new wave of naughts that are being accepted in this society. But then you start to slowly realise that is not the case. And walls just keep getting put up against him, and not just the education and what he wants to do with his career, but also his friendship with Seffi just gets pushed and pulled from every single angle. And it's just that it seems to be in this world it is impossible for a naught and a cross to ever be friends or be in a relationship. So what are the challenges for you of playing that role? It sounds as though it's a really interesting role to play. Oh God, yes, yeah, really interesting. I think for me, the challenging parts are things that happen to Callum have probably not happened to me as a white person. So there's certain words in the play. There's a B word, which is probably the most offensive word you can call it, a naught, because it has so many connotations to history and everything like that. And I personally, as a white person, feel like I haven't been called a word, or even know as a white male what word can be really offensive to me, that I would, change my opinion on someone if they use that word. So it's just finding, and mainly for that, it's just been talking to a lot of, especially the black actors in the room, and figuring out, the B word is similar to the N word in our society. Just figuring that out, and what it is like to be a young black person walking through our world. That's the sort of hurdles I'm having to face probably every rehearsal, really, just figuring that out. Heather, presumably you can empathise with Seffi's experiences.
Partly, I guess, under kind of discovery of like being in love, being in an interracial relationship, which I am in real life. So there's certain things which I can affiliate with Sephi, but in terms of privilege and feeling like she's part of the dominant culture, I've never felt that in my life. So that's probably been the biggest challenge in terms of the role. And chatting to kind of Billy and the white actors has really helped me understand what that privilege feels like and what it does to your body and your voice. So there's been a lot of exchange happening during the process.
How would you describe Sephi? Is she a heroine or a villain, or what is she?
Heroine or villain? She can be both a lot of the times, but she's really brave and she's got a really good heart. Her intentions are always good, but because of her like privilege and being a bit naive, it always comes out in a bit of a weird way. But she just really loves Callum, and she just wants to help him any way she can, even sometimes it becomes a bit problematic. I think that's the main thing that's driving her in the play.
And how do you get on with Esther as a director? Is she a dictator, or does she allow you to bring your own ideas to it?
She's such a dreamboat, actually. She's incredibly collaborative, and that's kind of the rooms I've been in, more theatre makery. So she always wants to know about ideas and our experiences. So that's been such a highlight in terms of a director. Yeah, she's great.
It feels like you're being directed, but directed in such a chilled way that the room, even from day one, has had so many people just putting ideas into the pot, and then we go, let's try it. She's not someone that will be like... Some directors will make you feel like you are being in a collaborative space, but then one day it will just like change, and then you'll realise, okay, no, actually we're just doing your vision. And then you sort of realise, you sort of feel that you can't do the ideas after that once you realise that she actually had a plan all along, which she has, but the structure of the rehearsal room is so relaxed and as said, very collaborative.
Esther says that she's trying to reach out to younger audiences. Do you think they will get Noughts and Crosses? Yeah, no, I mean, because early on, we were doing stuff at Theatre Peckham with Young and Talented, which is a youth group in London. And I think they've had some of the scripts, and just seeing them get so excited about it was amazing, because we were there for a couple of evening classes, and I went to an evening class in Bethnal Green, and did it with them, and they said, like, this is the boy playing Callum, and just the excitement of doing this book is really, really cool, and I know that there's a lot of stuff that the young people are doing behind the scenes with Pilot, which is great.
There's so many themes in the play which really resonate with what's going on in terms of like divisiveness, in terms of love, friendship, and also just the ideas around privilege and oppression. I think people are very much in that, especially in the UK, going through that now. So there's a lot of things which I think people really relate to, absolutely. And young love. We've all been in love before, so yeah, that's a key thing too.
It's quite a long tour, 4 months. Are you prepared for that?
Do you know what? At the start, I would have said yes. I'm not sure, but because the actors are really brilliant, that I think will be a lot of fun actually. So I'm quite excited to see how audience responds regionally too. Really excited for that.
We've been doing a lot of body conditioning every morning, so a lot of fitness, a lot of keeping ourselves not ill, a lot of ginger and garlic and all sorts of stuff like that. Just that's the thing, is it's mainly keeping healthy, and yeah, we've got such a great cast that the older actors who have done a lot of tours, I'm chatting to them, and how it was. I think they'll guide us. This is my first big thing, so yeah, will guide me through it.
And what's after Noughts and Crosses for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure actually, because I got this and it's such a long tour that I guess towards the end of it, with people coming to watch it, certain publicity that is already happening with it will hopefully create a certain buzz, and then I'll get another audition after this and get the job.
Heather, last year you were a South Bank Sky Arts Breakthrough Award nominee. What was your reaction when you got that?
When I got the email, I emailed them back with a picture of me and asked, are you sure it's the right person? Because I didn't believe it. So I was super duper shocked. Even during the award ceremony, I couldn't believe I was there. So yeah, it was really surreal actually, yeah.
Has it led to your getting any more work?
It has actually, because I make visual art, so a lot of my work's been sold because of it, and just general confidence around me being a performer. It's really boosted that. So yeah, it's been really great since that.
And what's next for you after Noughts and Crosses?
So I'm doing a one-woman show with Fuel Theatre, and Imogen Knight is directing it, and it's about healing. And I'm doing a visual art project with the British Council and Women in Photo, again around trauma and healing, which is happening at the end of the year.
But Noughts and Crosses first, you must be really excited about that.
I absolutely can't wait. Even if I was just watching it in the audience, I'll be freaking out. So it's such a blessing to be on this show. Yeah, I'm delighted.
It's been a dream, just working, rehearsing every single day on such a interesting, and I feel like I'm learning every single time I pick up the script, and when I picked up the book as well. It's such an eye-opening thing, and I hope that people come and feel the same as me.
Noughts and Crosses is at Derby Theatre from the 1st until the 16th of February. It then visits 9 other theatres until the second week of May.